On Today Breakfast, it's Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson.
It is a very good morning now to Matt Dickerson, our technology guru that's in the world's probably technology capital of Japan. Good morning to you, Matt. How's the trip?
Yeah, good morning, Brett. Good, thank you. And one of the things I'm always fascinated by in Japan is the toilets. The technology in the toilets is quite fascinating. And sometimes,
Let's talk about that. How many buttons are on the toilet?
Well, that is the challenge. Sometimes I've been into some toilets and you're looking at the control panel, and that's right, it's a control panel to drive the toilet. Sometimes it's a removable control panel, like a remote control panel, which I'm not sure why you'd want to do things to the toilet when you're not at the toilet, but that's a separate issue. But sometimes you're looking at the control panel, you're looking through the various switches, trying to work out something simple like how to flush the toilet, and then finally you realise it's got a good old-fashioned button on the actual toilet. So the control panel does everything else but flush the toilet in some cases. So it's always fascinated me why there is so much technology in the toilets in Japan, and we've got none of that, Brett. I want one of these toilets in Australia, especially the heat seating part. That's the nicest part.
Yeah, that'd be okay during winter. The other day on Facebook, and look, you know, there's not much on Facebook you can trust, but there was a little kid doing the dishes by flushing the toilet. He was so young, he must have been 3 or 4, and I thought, this has got to be a send-up. Surely don't want to let a kid do the dishes.
Well, that might be another option.
I want to talk about a few things, though. I've lost a few pets over the years, including Mr. Wilson, who was my perfect pussycat in more recent years, and I would have loved to have, probably allowed to have a clone or a duplicate of her so we could continue our friendship. But sadly, I couldn't do that. But technology is changing to perhaps let us do this.
It has, and whether it's a good thing or not, I'm not going to get into the ethics of this, Brett. I'm just going to talk about the technology of this. But if you've got a wonderful pet, your favourite pet, your pet that's been everything you've wanted it to be, and mostly pets die younger than we do. Mostly we lose some pets along the way in our lifetime, in our average lifetime. So some people are getting to the point now that if you can take some viable cells, typically from the pet's ear, if they can be extracted within 5 days after a pet's passing, then, and they can be refrigerated, they don't need to be frozen, just refrigerated, then they can be given to a company in the US of A, and they will clone that pet for you. So cats, dogs, horses. Now, you've got to have a couple of dollars in your back pocket. It costs you about US $50,000 for cats. Dogs are a bit more than that. Horses jump up even more. So you've got to have a few dollars to be able to do it. But once you do that, then that pet can be cloned. And after a normal growth, a normal embryo growth period, then there will be your baby dog, baby pet, whatever, cat, whatever it might have been. Now, they do warn when you read through the brochures that it's not going to be identical, even though it's cloning, which kind of sounds a bit counterintuitive. But the pet that you had was the pet that you had because of the experience it had with you or however it was brought up. And so it'll be the same physical pet, but it hasn't got the same memories and attachment. You've got to go and form that again. So it's not going to be suddenly born and it remembers, oh, Brett, I haven't seen you for a while. Brett, there's my lovely Brett that's always been nice to me. You've got to go and create that connection again. The same as...
Better redo the connection. Well, what if it decides it doesn't like me this time around?
That's right.
That would have been bad. I mean, look, this is like me remortgaging the house at $50,000. I mean, during the time when I lost Mr. Wilson, I probably would have done it. You know what I mean? Because you get so emotional over it.
You do, that's right. And I think that's probably what they're preying on here. Now, far be it for me to insult any pet owners out there, but if you had your favourite dog and it eventually died, it grew to old age and died, and then you went and bought another one of that same breed of dog, you'd probably end up with the same connection with that dog because a dog's probably got a limited ability to have personality. They've got some personality, but obviously it can't have a deep personal connection with people that's dramatically different to another one, if you know what I mean. So you're probably going to spend a lot of money on doing something that maybe you don't need to. But some people are doing it. There are these pets that are being delivered to owners across the US at this stage. I'm sure you could do it internationally if you had to, but at the moment the pets are being delivered to owners across the US who have lost their previous pet. So quite incredible where we're at. How long does it get to the stage though, Brett, where you lose a child, you lose a sibling, you lose a parent, and you go and get that one cloned?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's too late for me and Mr. Wilson because she's cremated now, and I can't do that if it's 5 days after a pet dies.
No,
so
no.
that's sad for me. I thought we would have been able to resurrect from the ashes, you know what I mean? And I say that not laughing about it because I'm seriously missing the pet. But this cost me, I don't know, about 100 less. Times, I think, you know, up to $500, not 50,000, you know, for a small pet like that. Anyway, let's move on to something else. Since we're talking about cats, there's a bit of a cat's eye clarity here that I noticed on your list. And tell me about this, because new cat eye technology is giving drones the ability to see like they never have before. So that means it's good for the consumer, right?
Good for the consumer. One of the things that we do find in technology is that often we as technologists will look at nature and say, gee, you know, nature's got that pretty well right. Can we do something about that and basically steal the idea from nature and then use that in some sort of technology? And some Korean scientists have done exactly that now with a vision system that's been inspired by cat's eyes, which will improve sight of drones and potentially robots, even autonomous vehicles. So you've got a cat's eye, speaking of pets, which has got that slit-like aperture, and it's also got a reflective layer, and that's how cats can see well at night time, or see better than we can at night time, because you've got this reflective layer that basically captures as much light as possible and reflects it in there, so you're almost getting a double dose of light going into the actual eye itself. So essentially, that slit aperture can filter excess light, and then the reflective layer can grab more light. So it does both. So if you combine that into a camera where you've got this ability to filter out light and also capture extra light in darkness, then you're going to end up with a better camera. I'm interested in the fact that they haven't talked about it being something they could use for a better camera on, for example, a phone camera. They've really focused on drones and robots giving better vision rather than just, hey, you can take a better photo at night time. Because one of the issues with smartphones, because they have got a very small aperture on the actual camera itself, smartphones are typically great at capturing photos outdoors where you've got lots of light, but indoors where there's limited light, sometimes smartphones aren't quite as good as a normal old-fashioned camera. But I thought this might be a way you could actually improve those. But at this stage, they're looking at drones, looking at robots, autonomous vehicles, not so much looking at what might it be on smartphones. But that's today, Brett. That's today. Tomorrow, who knows?
Yeah, well, this is right. And I mean, they're getting smaller all the time. It's just amazing what they can fit into a small camera these days anyway. Let's keep the pet thing going. I was going to skip this one, but I think it's pretty important because there's robotic dogs that are deterring birds and helping to drive hazelnut growth. Tell me about these. Are these real robot dogs?
These are real robot dogs. We've got, as you might remember, we've spoken about Spot the robot dog previously.
Yeah.
And so essentially the idea here from Boston Robotics is that you've got lots of different uses for one dog, and however people adapt it and use it, that's up to them. Now, I've been down to Charles Sturt University in Wagga where they're doing a whole range of research around agricultural use of technology. And they've got some fantastic work that's being done down there. And essentially this is more of that sort of work where they're combining their expertise with the hazelnut industry. Now, I didn't realise that this was such a big problem, but hazelnuts are being taken, stolen, if you like, by birds, and this is a big issue. So we just don't have enough hazelnuts in this country. We only produce about 6,500 tonnes, and if you compare that to almonds, for example, 140,000 tonnes of almonds, 70,000 tonnes of macadamia. So we need more hazelnuts. But a big issue is that birds like hazelnuts as well, so they come and steal them. Now, this dog has been programmed to essentially walk around hazelnut crops and hang around there, and then when birds come down to attack, they basically jump up and bark. And I'm not sure it's a normal bark, but it's a noise that scares birds off, essentially keeping them away from these hazelnut crops. So good use
at a different frequency. That'd be kind of cool. I would have expected, something like a squirrel.
A squirrel.
Stealing these nuts, not birds. Are these good for the birds or not? I'm running out of time here.
Yeah, no, these are for birds. Birds are attacking these hazelnuts, or not attacking, they're just taking the hazelnuts. So, yeah, they're specifically designed to keep these birds away from hazelnuts.
All right, well, Matt, thank you so much, and thanks for joining me from your overseas trip. When are you home?
Next week home, Brett, and I'll see you in studio next week.
All right, that's perfect. Thank you so much.